Hi, this is Phil, the Anna Wilson Children's Home at Tankerton, run by the Salvation Army, and this is video 5. Now, this is the latest update from when I got my details connected forward about trying to get the information on my files, going missing, so I got in contact with the ICO, and then at the same time getting in contact with my local MP. Now, when I put in a file with the ICO, it takes 30 days. So you've pretty much got to wait 30 days until they can give you information about what they can do. Now, this video is still trying to get justice, trying to get closure, finding the truth, and getting hold of and getting in contact with the kids who lived at the Anna Wilson between 1976 and 1981. Now, after being in contact with the ICO, found out that 30 days later, then you get your files, and I told my MP, they told me that they're going to push on with the ICO about getting my files because 30 days did elapse. After 30 days, my files hadn't really been looked at, and pretty much I asked my local MP to basically jump onto the bandwagon and basically put a bit of pressure on the ICO to pull their fingers out, really. So at this time, I've also got my files, my doctor's medical files, and I'm in a time warp at this time because between the 24th of December 2017 through to the time when I'm talking about this video, which is going back to mid-January, I was in a really bad place. I've got to be honest. It's probably the darkest place I've been in my life since being in care at the Anna Wilson home between 76 and 81. Purely because I've had to talk about this with so many different people. They've brought up all my emotions, all my feelings, and all my stresses, my anxieties, and what I personally deal with at the moment from the side effects of what happened to me as a child is that I do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I also do suffer from OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I also suffer from depression, and I suffer from anxiety. So at this time, I'm actually now going through the darkest time of my life, bringing this all up from what happened to me between 1976 and 1981. Now, the main abuse was happening between 1976 to 1980, because that's when the abuser stopped working at the Anna Wilson home. Now, during this time, I'm trying to relapse my feelings, my memories, and focusing on how I can get my memory back to try and figure out what happened when I was a kid. So, about 8 years ago, my mother gave me a yellow box. This yellow box contained photographs of me throughout my childhood, from the age of being born right the way through till when I was about 18 years old. And my mother had put them to one side for me. She had copies, and this was my copies. And I decided to put my doctor's files down on the floor, and I put my photographs out on the floor. Every single location where I lived throughout my life, from when I was born right the way through to when I was 18. So the photographs went with up until I was 1, up until I was 2, right the way through to 18 years of age. And I put the photographs against the doctor's records of that particular time in each year, from 72 right the way through till when I was 18, which is 1990. And my worst memory was really the couple of photographs I did personally have myself of when I was standing outside the Anna Wilson home. But it didn't actually have a photograph of the actual house. It had the side wall of the Anna Wilson home, and it had the front garden. But it wasn't a picture of the house. And then what I did say in a previous video was that I found a photograph. I'm not going to bring up this friend's name because he will come into the video at a later date, but I don't want to use his name purely for his private and confidentiality really, and I'm not sure if he really wants to be put on the video. So I'm going to keep his name quiet. But he did come across the photograph, which I found later on, which was probably about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It was actually him who found it. Very good friend of mine. Anyway, during this time, I'm looking at my photographs, looking at the doctor's files. I actually drove around all those different locations where I lived as a kid. I literally got into my van and drove all over southwest, northeast London, then to Kent, and then to Sussex. These are all the different locations which I had connection with throughout my childhood. The worst one, which is the one I want to concentrate on, because this is based on the Anna Wilson home, was basically the photograph of me outside the Anna Wilson home. And that really struck a chord with me. Anyway, fast forwarding from that, I'm now getting to the stage where a couple of months later, after I've been in contact with the ICO and been in contact with my local MP, my files and my details of my files still hadn't been dealt with by the ICO. So my local MP was dealing with it and was pulling the wool up them, the wind up them, trying to get them to move on. Eventually, you won't believe this, about May time, June, my files arrived. I could not believe it. My memories of thinking, will I ever get those files? Had they found? If you can believe this, I got in contact with Kent Police for the first time ever. And before I got my files, I was in contact with Kent Police. I was also in contact with my local MP. I was also in contact with the ICO. And when I told you about this website which had been taken down by the internet, when I put my final push about this website to Kent Police, to the ICO, to Kent County Council and to Salvation Army, I basically looked up on the internet after this last phone call I made, and that was like literally 2 days later, the website was down. So I'm now thinking, is it surprisingly that this has coincidentally happened at the same time? Is it really like what people think that, it's just coincidence? Some people, skeptical people, might think it's a bit of a conspiracy about trying to hide any information about the Anna Wilson home between 1976 and 1981, or even to 1982 when it's so-called closed down as a children's home. So it's running through my mind about, I don't know what's going on. The information not being on the internet on the Anna Wilson home. And when I'm trying to find a photograph, I can't find it. Then, of course, literally now, which is the beginning of March. And I'm talking about this video through from when I first started doing the video from my childhood, right the way through with the abuse happening at the Anna Wilson. And I'm talking about it at the beginning of March now, in 2019. And I'm now talking about the video, which is based in 2018. And this is around June time now. So in June, I then get to the stage where my files, apparently they found them. After getting in contact with Kent Police, I know I'm repeating myself, I'm going to go through it, contacting the Kent Police, contacting the ICO again, contacting my local MP, and then I brought up the question, had Kent Police ever had any allegations of child abuse from the Anna Wilson Children's Home in Tankerton? And then literally 2 days later, this website went down. Now, I then get a call from Kent County Council saying your files have been found, But it takes 10 days for my files to arrive on my front door. And I know previously I've been in contact with Kent Police maybe a month beforehand, maybe 6 weeks beforehand. But I got in contact with Kent Police again because I said to them that, Kent County Council have found my files. But it was a week later, I still hadn't received my files. I got in contact with Kent Police again, saying, I don't know what's going on, but I should have got my files. They found my files over 7 days ago, and I still haven't got them on the front door. Anyway, they arrived 3 days later. And I think that's a bit of a strange one because they arrived so much later. Anyway, I get the files. I go through the files, and it's unbelievable. All the information from when I was 3 weeks old, right the way through to when I was 18. But you will not believe this. The information I'm looking at is about the reviews, which are meant to be every 6 months. Now, these reviews talk about my psychological situation, how I am physically, mentally, what's happening in my life, how I'm coping living at the home, and everything else. But I find that within the reviews, the truth has been distorted because the abuse which was happening to me by the person who was writing the reviews. So my abuser, who is the person writing the reviews, has been distorted to her advantage and has basically covered up the abuse going on in the children's home. And I was suffering from night terrors and nightmares. But look, I'm going to get to the end of this. It's 12 minutes now. I'm going to get to the end of this video. Sorry if I have gone on a bit too much, but look, this is me. This is how I am. Finding closure, getting closure, finding the truth, getting justice. And can you just like this and share this video because I want this to spread wild. Anyway, have a good day. Look after yourselves. And this is video 5 now. And wait for a couple of more days until video 6 comes up. Okay, take care. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.